Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to talk to you this afternoon about mental health. In specific terms, I'm going to talk about the Heads Together campaign that we ran at the Royal Foundation when I was there. And the Royal Foundation was the charity for the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Harry. And after Prince Harry's marriage, it was also joined by the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. And I'm also going to focus a little bit, given the pandemic situation that we find ourselves in, on kind of tips for the current situation, which I think is either going to, in some instances, create some mental health issues for people or exacerbate existing ones. So I think it's really important that we all look after our mental well-being at the moment, as well as looking after our physical well-being. So we got together 8 mental health charities and a variety of experts, psychiatrists and psychologists, and asked them what they felt that we could do. And they said that moving the dial on stigma was the most significant thing, and in a way the thing that the royal family could uniquely do because of their influence. And if they started normalizing the conversation around mental health and encouraging people to have conversations on mental health, that would change the public's perception of mental health, and therefore hopefully improve the mental health of the nation. So I'm just going to talk, because I know all of you are in business, a little bit about why business should worry about mental health. And every year, 1 in 4 people will be suffering with a mental health problem. Now, the CEO of Mind would say that actually, over time, pretty much everybody has a mental health problem at some stage in their lives, and certainly they will know somebody. The other thing is that mental health is costing businesses around £35 billion a year. The other thing, and this was a statistic that shocked me when I first heard it and still shocks and pains me, is that suicide is the biggest killer of men under 40, and 3 out of 4 suicides are male. The highest suicide rate is actually on men aged 45 to 49. Up to 300,000 people a year are leaving their jobs due to a mental health issue. And 1/3 of employers say that they struggle to find the information that they need to correctly support the mental health of their employees. And like coronavirus, mental health crosses all boundaries: social, economic, gender, ethnic, from the chief executive to the shop floor, from the richest to the poorest of our society. It doesn't differentiate. And part of the problem is that because influential people don't speak out about it, that creates this culture of secrecy and silence. So developing an open culture within the workplace really does need positive role modeling from people at all levels in the company. So that role modeling, leading by example, having those conversations yourself, when you ask somebody how they are, really listening to how they are and not being put off with the off-pat answer, because you might have an inkling that somebody is not in the best of shape. So how are you really? Not just how are you? People are worried about the way they will be perceived in the workplace. Will it affect their chances of promotion? So I'll move on a bit now to talking about the Heads Together campaign. And Prince William is currently doing the Heads Up campaign with the Football Association, specifically to try to reach out to men through football. Again, trying to reach people where you'll find them, trying to have the sorts of role models that they will look up to and that they will listen to. People are most likely to talk to a family member. So that's 68% of people said they would talk to a family member, or a friend. 62% would talk to a friend. However, and this goes back to the stigma that I was talking about at the beginning about the workplace, only 2% of people would talk to HR if they had a mental health problem, and only 7% would talk to their line manager or work supervisor. I'm going to move on now to the current situation, because I think we're all experiencing an unprecedented change in our lives. None of us have been through anything like this before. Our society has never been through anything like this before. We're facing insecurity, financial insecurity in many cases, uncertainty over the future of our companies or the future of our employers, uncertainty over our own future. Can we even go on holiday this year, next year? Our whole lives have changed. We may be furloughed. Lots of us are working from home. Those who are not working from home are actually working in dangerous situations now, having to shield themselves from the members of the public that they serve, whether that's the cashier in the supermarket or the dustman, whoever. It would be no surprise if people are feeling heightened levels of anxiety. That is a completely logical thing to feel. And of course, we're surrounded by statistics of death. We are surrounded by images of death and people being seriously ill and companies closing down and businesses shutting up shop and people being laid off. Some people are suffering from loneliness. Many are bereaved or grieving. Financial concerns. If we lose our employment, how are we going to pay the mortgage? And all of that is going to potentially impact on mental health. Now, most of us think about the food we eat for our bodies, but it is actually a fact that between 20 and 30% of the calories we consume are used by our brain. Sleeping well, or sleeping as well as possible, and exercise. Exercise is really, really important, as is switching off, relaxation, meditation, or simply breathing. And of course, if you're working from home, that is a big change. You have lost a lot of social contact. You didn't actually spend all your time behind your desktop or stuck in your office chair. You did spend time at the coffee machine chatting to people, or waiting for a lift and chatting to people. You went out for lunch. You went to somebody's office to ask them about things. There was a lot of social contact that people have lost, and also a lot of after work social contact that I know, my millennial daughter is really lacking. So trying to structure your day, getting up at the time that you normally got up at, listening to a podcast, listening to music or whatever, but just taking that time to do something for yourself. Making sure that you schedule in coffee and lunch breaks. There's a lot of pressure to show you're working. There's a lot of software out there that people worry is tracking them while they're, are they online or not? Trying to have a work area within your house if possible. So not letting your whole house become your work area, and then leaving that place once I've finished work. Make time to have a chat with your colleagues, make time to have a chat with your friends. Maybe think about some social events, do a company quiz or whatever. And also in your downtime, when you're not working, try and find ways to relax and be creative and, take up a new hobby or pursue your existing hobby that you didn't always have time for. And then the final thing that I just talk about is, make sure that your employees are pointed to the help that you can provide them with. So if you've got an employee assistance program, reinforce that message, steer them towards charities, Mind, Samaritans, Shout, the text and messaging service I mentioned. All these can help. The BBC's Action Line, again, is a fount of information. And if you have mental health first aiders within your organisation, again, make sure that people know that they can still contact them even if they're working from home. But hopefully you found that useful.